what's up, y'all? This is Aaron Gordon here, and we're back here with Aaron Gordon Podcast. I'm here with my special guest, DeeDee Williams. She is the 10th all-time leading games played player at Purdue, and she is a Ben Davis legend, winning 2 state championships. How's it going?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Pretty good. So let's start off by talking about, how'd you get into basketball?
So that's kind of crazy. I started really young, but I actually have 5 sisters and 2 brothers.
Mm-hmm.
And so actually 3 brothers. I have a dad. My stepdad has 2 boys, and then my real dad has 1.
Mm-hmm.
So my stepdad actually introduced me to basketball. They used me as like a dummy defensive player, which is, basketball talk. All my sisters played, all my brothers played. I didn't play. I was more into like modeling, things of that nature. And so it was my stepdad. Like I said, they used me as like a dummy defensive player one day in practice. And I was always tall, long.
Yeah.
And then the game just kind of came to me. And so from then on, I've just been playing ever since.
But did you ever think you would ever be like this good, really?
No, I didn't. And I also think it goes just from the surroundings that I have, from the girls that I played with. I think at every stage, I was kind of with a group of people or a group of women who knew the game, loved the game. And so it just kind of, how they say, you are who you hang around. And so I think it just kind of, the hard work, the work ethic, all just kind of, came off on me as well. And so, yeah, I did not think it would take me this far, though. Never did I think it would.
So, what was it like when you were growing up through, Ben Davis Township, going to Ben Davis? What was that like? I mean, obviously it's a prominent program. Tell me about, going up in, your freshman year going into Ben Davis.
Yeah, it was amazing. Coach Benj, he's an amazing coach. He really knows how to get players to play for, not even for him, but for themselves and for him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's not a coach that's going to like tear you down, but he knows how to motivate you. Not just 1 or 2 players, but he knows how to motivate every single player. And I think a lot of coaches don't always do that. I think coaches kind of find those 1 or 2 people or 2 or 3 people that they know how to motivate, know how to get to, and just kind of go off of that. But he did a really good job of buying into the process with all of us. Of course, a lot of us have played together through middle school, elementary school. So we all kind of knew each other, AAU as well. So when it came to, get into the township, all of us were there. And we started our journey very early. I think we lost our game. What was it? My sophomore year to Carmel.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, we didn't lose a game for the next 2 seasons. And so it was an amazing journey. So many memories, so many, relationships built that I still talk to the girls today. We're actually supposed to be getting together with Coach Bench as we do it like we try to do it once every year, once every 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the year that we plan to get together and, kind of rekindle and, see where everybody is.
You guys played in that alumni game. That was a year ago, right? Or was that 2 years ago?
I want to say it was like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, which is kind of crazy because I feel like it was just yesterday. But yeah,
Yeah.
that was a fun.
What was that
time
experience like,
well.
being able to see everyone and be on the court with some of the people that you play with in high school?
Yeah, it was really nice. And again, it's kind of like you go back to those same memories, but it's like our bodies are not moving the same way, y'all. Like, we're trying to red, green, like defensive wise, but it's like our bodies are not the same. So. But it was fun though, all fun. Just again, seeing who can move still, who still got what. Obviously, always the competitiveness of us is always going to be there.
So obviously, one thing that a lot of people may or may not know is that you were all county volleyball player. What was that like? I mean, like, you were a 2-sport athlete. I mean, how hard was it, when everyone else was getting ready for the season, you were playing volleyball?
Yes. So actually, the funny part about that is I never touched a volleyball in my life.
Really?
So it was kind of the same with basketball, except I started volleyball literally in high school.
When did you start basketball?
Basketball, I started, I think I was about 6 or 7.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, with volleyball, I was the manager of the team. Because a lot of the basketball girls played volleyball. So I was just like, again, wanted to be around that same energy. And then, yeah, a lot of girls started getting hurt and things of that nature. So the coach was just like, hey, you know, do you want to play? And I was like, I've never played a day in my life, but, you know, it seems fun. So yeah, I ended up just kind of getting on the team from there.
And then you were all counting on top of that.
Yeah, you know, thank God, I guess,
Yeah.
because like I said, I never touched the volleyball in my life, but just again, watching and just knowing that it's a fun sport. And it was a good break away from basketball. Because, you know, when you play AAU high school, it's kind of like an all year round thing. So just to be able to kind of take a break from basketball for that split second, definitely kept it fun and kept that fire underneath you for when you got back to basketball.
So, you know, I didn't want to get into the introduction too long, but one thing that people may not know is obviously people know you're, you know, a 2-time state champion, but you were the first team ever in all of high school basketball in Indiana to win 30 games. That's a long season for high. I mean, that's like a college season. So that means that you guys were also playing a lot of games just throughout time. What was that like, not only to play 30 games, but to win 30 games?
It was something that we had set. Like I said, after we lost that game to go to, I believe it was to go to regionals or semi-state, one or the other, to Carmel at Southport. Our group of girls, Emily Huber, she had her mom owned like a boathouse type of thing. It wasn't too far away from Indianapolis. We all, you know, piled into a car, drove out there as a team, and we just bonded over, you know, cried, talked about how it felt losing, and we literally set a goal to not lose another game. I remember Alex Bentley, you know, we set a goal to not lose a game the rest of the time that we were there. And so that's what we set out to do every game. We really bought into the process. We held each other accountable, didn't allow each other to slack. And I just think having that one common goal is what kept us every game. Even when we would get down, or if we got down, we never, ever felt like we were going to lose a game. And again, that's from, you know, having a great coach like Coach Bench and Coach Dowler, I won't leave him out, behind us, who pushed us as well.
So, I mean, obviously, when you talk about that, one thing that, you know, comes to me, and I think in terms of high school, especially, and, you know, big sports, you know, states, one thing that stands out to me is like, that was really player led. Like, how much do you think like that moment right there helped you develop as a leader and everyone else on your team as a leader?
It helps you develop because there's really no one person on the team that, like, I know some teams you have like that dominant player, those 1 or 2, 3 dominant players, but our starting 5 were all D1 athletes after leaving high school. So it's kind of like we didn't have to put the pressure on just that one person. Everybody led in their own right. I was a defensive stopper. Alex was our scorer. Bria was our scorer. De'Ara was our, you know, post playing monster, you know, Vivian, Mitri, everybody. So we all played our role to the max. Nobody felt like they were playing a role and was like, oh, I'm just a role player. Oh, I'm just going to sit back and let this, that, and the other. No matter who it was. If we had freshman Brianna Arnold, you know, she was younger than us. Everybody stepped up to the plate. And I think it's because nobody wanted to feel like they were playing a role. Everybody wanted to feel like they were contributing in whatever way they could to the max. And so it just, you know, and then in life, it just kind of helps you, you know, keep that leadership going, really. So yeah.
You know, that's one thing that, you know, I noticed about you, like, you know, all throughout your career. And I think that that's what probably made the recruitment process really easy for you, because like you could do everything else on the court, not just score. So like, what was your recruitment process like? Was it pretty hard, or, you know, what was that entire thing like before you chose Purdue?
So actually it was hard, but it was easy. So Erin Wallace, she played at Purdue. Obviously Purdue's close to home. I'm a homebody. So I loved her game. I watched Purdue all the time. They started recruiting me when I was in about 7th grade. And I just think the relationship that was built over time is what led me to make that decision as quickly as I did. I know Coach Banks, who's our AAU coach, he told me not to commit so early, just because, you know, it keeps the options open when you're going to AAU tournaments. You know, coaches, you know, obviously have their books to see who's decided, who's not decided. And it keeps them, you know, coming to the games. But I committed as soon as I could. Like the moment that I was able to commit, I committed to Purdue. So like my process was I got plenty of letters. I really didn't go on too many visits because I just kind of knew for myself Purdue was where I wanted to go. Sure. But you know, it was just, I think the relationship that was built is what made it easier for me. I know I've heard and know that the process can be a little bit tougher for those that really don't quite know or haven't really been in, you know, the recruiting world. But yeah, it was a nice process. It's always nice to be wanted. Of course, always. You know, we have so many different schools, you know, reaching out and, you know, wanting you to come visit and things of that nature. But I think Purdue just kind of made it easy.
So I have to ask you this because I've always, you know, wondered this for people who've won a championship, whether it be in college, high school, pros, which championship was harder? Because you guys won it was 09 and 10, right? Or was it 08 and 10?
Yes, 09 and 10.
Which one was harder?
09, definitely.
09 was definitely harder?
Yes,
yes. Why would you say that?
What'd you say? I'm sorry?
No, I said, why would you say that?
Why would I say that? Well, I think because we came off the season of losing that previous year. And then two, we played against Skylar Diggins. You know, that game was hyped up. I think the crowd, if you were at that game, the crowd was crazy.
Actually, no, that was the game I went to.
Okay, yeah. Packed house, lights were all on us. And then it was a great game, you know, back and forth. We're up, they're up, we're down, they're down. And then I honestly don't know if Bria didn't hit that shot. I don't know what would happen because a lot of us were in foul trouble. Yeah. But you know, Bria hit that shot and definitely saved the day for us. But it was tough. And then I think the next year, the 2010, it was a lot easier. I think that championship game was a blowout. We played Maryville, I believe, up in Fort Wayne. And that was just, it was a blowout game. So I think just, you know, the buildup of wanting to redeem ourselves, the pressure of, you know, playing Skylar Diggins, who was a great basketball player, and her surrounding team. I won't even just say her, but, you know, they were a great team as well. But yeah, I think that game, that whole situation was just a lot of pressure to redeem ourselves. We had gotten that far. But yeah, it was a great experience though.
So obviously I talked about it. You played 132 career games at Purdue. That's a lot of games. I mean, right now, I still have a whole nother season. I'm at like 101 and I'm already doing it. Like, what was it like having a full career? You played in, was it 2 or 3 NCAA tournaments? Two. No. Yeah.
Yes, 2.
Yeah, 2. Because I remember you guys went in 2013, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I remember you guys went then. What is it like, you know, playing 132 career games in college?
Again, it's an amazing feeling. I mean, because again, especially for somebody like me who didn't even really play basketball from the jump, I guess you could say, or who wasn't interested, I'll say that. And, you know, for it to have taken me that far to be at a D1 school, Big Ten, big conference, starting, you know, as a freshman, it was just an amazing experience. I mean, I don't think it can really get too much better experience-wise for a freshman. You know, you go in not really knowing if you're going to start, if you're going to play, this, that, and the other. I remember our starting point guard, KK Hauser, literally just went up for a fast break layup, came down and tore ACL. And I was shocked. I was like, well, what did she do? She didn't do anything, because I'm thinking to tear your ACL, you have to do something crazy. Yeah. But she literally just went up, came down, and I guess landed wrong and tore ACL. So then, you know, coach was like, well, DeeDee, you're up. You're our new point guard. So I'm just like, oh, okay, here we go. But again, it was just an amazing experience. You learn, and you learn to just step up, and, you know, the leadership that you get from high school starts to play that role when you get to college. And that's just really what it was. So I was definitely grateful to be able to play in that many games as a college athlete, because not everybody gets to.
So obviously, I mean, you're definitely one of the most versatile players I've seen. Like, what is it like, you know, having to know, you know, every single spot on the court, being able to play, being able to, you know, work out and, you know, have all those skills?
Mm-hmm. I think that's me as a person. I'm always wanting to help here. So I just kind of think that's just who I am. I think I never really wanted to be the main scorer. I don't really like being like in the spotlight. So I'm okay with kind of doing the dirty work. Like I was okay with being the defensive stopper for Purdue. Not a lot of people really take pride in that, but I did, because it's like, you're putting me on the best player on the other team. Oh, they average 30 a game. I'm trying to keep you at, 10 at the most, So I just think that's just me as a person. I think being able to, and like I tell girls now, being versatile is what gets you those different options when it comes to choosing schools. If you're just a main scorer, not all schools are looking for scores. They may already have their scores. They may need a defensive stopper or somebody who's just willing to pass or who can make that, two dribble jump shot or something like that. So the more versatile you are, the more options you'll have. So I think that's just like the biggest that I can get from it. It's just, it's good to be that way.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, you talk about, the versatility and doing that. Like for me, my first game that I actually started was my freshman year, and it was against Butler. So I was really, really, really nervous because we played at Butler in Indianapolis.
Oh, you're
my first started game in college. Yeah. So like I have, that same similar feeling that you had. I was really nervous. I was like, oh man, like this kind of just snuck up. And I was playing point, and I have been playing the two all year. So
yeah,
certain things like that it's really cool, to share with other athletes and share those experiences.
Absolutely.
So obviously, what was your decision making and if you want to play professional or not after your college career was over?
So I wanted to play professionally. I was okay with playing overseas. I went over to Mongolia, won the first women's championship over there. And then I went to play over in Finland for about half of a season before I ended up being cut. But yeah, I mean, I didn't really too much go into like, I want to be in the WNBA type of thing. It was just more so just being able to continue to play. And I think there were two reasons behind that. I think one, it was just, I love basketball at that time, it's what I've been doing. Why not continue if I can? And then two, I just think as athletes and, period, student athletes, I think sometimes we get so caught up in basketball.
Yeah.
And that's literally all we kind of consume ourselves with, to where we forget about, well, what happens if I can never play basketball again?
Yeah.
So it was kind of just that, not really knowing what else I would do if I didn't go overseas and play. And then also just the feeling of, this is what I do. Why not if I have the opportunity? And so I think, again, with my business that I have now with Coach Bay, while yes, right now it's geared more toward fitness, the Bay part of that stands for building athletes every day. And that's one thing I want to instill in athletes, is to let them know that make sure you really focus on what you want to do after basketball, because basketball will not always be there. And you don't want to be kind of like how I am right now, a 28-year-old. I got a son, he's 4, and I'm still kind of figuring it out. While I feel like I'm doing well for myself, I feel like had I thought about that while I was in college, while I had that time to really think about what I wanted to do, maybe I wouldn't be, having to kind of backtrack in a sense and figure it all out now as an adult, with a whole child, to also take care of. So yeah, I'm glad the opportunity was there and I was able to, continue playing basketball, but I really wish I would have thought about, had I not went, what else would I have done or wanted to do?
For sure. What was that experience like when you went over there? Was it like a culture shock for you?
It was definitely a culture shock. It was, I guess Indy's kind of cold, so the coldness didn't really, bother me too much, but just not knowing, different languages, not knowing what somebody's saying, or if they're saying it about you, or if they're trying to talk to you, or, those things. It was definitely tough. Obviously you have other Americans there sometimes, but it was definitely a culture shock. I definitely can't agree with that.
So obviously, before you started getting into fitness and entrepreneurship, you stopped and you actually coached in college for a year. And I was just telling her before this, like I went to school with Taylor Brown, who she coached her second to last year in college. And that's when I realized that you were coaching. I didn't realize you were coaching. So what was that experience like, coaching, especially in a different state at HBCU? It
was a great experience. Very different. Obviously, I went to Purdue. So to go to coach on the opposite side of, at HBCU, it was just more or less like, I loved it. The togetherness, how helpful everybody was. I was the new face around, campus as a coach, and, everybody was just so willing to help. Everybody was so willing, hey, if you need this, you need that, let me know. Even coaching wise, Coach Garvin, he was the men's head coach at the time. He would, I was stepping on their like coaching practices they would kind of have before their actual practice. And he would, hey, DeeDee, what do you think about this? Or what do you think about that? And so I think for a young coach like myself, I think you kind of need those coaches, who are willing to kind of step outside themselves and ask you for your opinion and make you feel included. But yeah, outside of that, like just getting to know the girls, now you're dealing with young women instead of before I was coaching high school who are young ladies. So you're now coaching young women, and just to be able to share your experience with them that you kind of went through, and then kind of be able to relate with them with what they're going through. It was just good all the way around. I feel like I was able to give back, to them in certain ways. And, yeah, it was a really good learning experience. And then COVID hit, and that kind of just, made things all crazy. But outside of that, it was great. It was great.
So this year you coached it was your alma mater, your middle school, correct?
Yes, Chapel Hill.
Yes. I was going to say Lyndhurst, but it's Chapel Hill. So, what was that experience like?
It was good. Again, completely different levels. With middle school, you kind of get what you get. You have some girls who play AAU, have been playing basketball, and you have some girls who completely have no knowledge of basketball at all. But I think that's what makes you better as a coach. Are you able to coach this child and be able to motivate them in the ways that they're motivated? Or are you just kind of straightforward and only able to, coach this certain type of child? But it was a great experience. And then just from coming from, a D1 school to a middle school, you have to change your way of coaching. You can't talk to the girls the same way. You can't, teach the girls the same way. But it was a great experience. I think, you just learn a lot about yourself. You learn a lot about how you coach, who you are as a coach. And I think that's kind of really everything that I got out of it.
So tell everyone a little bit more about Coach Bay, the fitness and entrepreneurship that you got into. How did that all come about? And, how has COVID impacted you? Because I know, when COVID hit, it seemed like everything that you were doing just went up. So, how did you manage to do that and really, just make your entire business much better?
Yeah. So Coach Bay actually started while I was at South Carolina State. My mom started calling me that. And I didn't really want it to be like Coach Bay, because I think when everybody hears Bay, they think, oh, you got to be cute. You got to be this, you got to be that. And I was like, well, I don't want people to feel like being called Coach Bay, you have to be like a certain type of person, which is why I, ended up making the acronym that building athletes every day, because as coaches, that's literally what we do in whatever field, you're in. That's what we do. And so I think even with, the fitness aspect of it, as a fitness coach, I'm building people's bodies. I'm building, and I train a lot of my clients as athletes. Now, obviously, I think about age, gender, things of that nature, but ultimately I feel like everybody has that innate competitiveness in them. So I train everybody like an athlete. And so, yeah, that's just kind of where Coach Bay came from. Initially, I was geared just toward coaching, but I just feel like as a coach in any type of realm, you can build somebody else to where you are. And so, yeah, came home, ended up, training. I had switched my name to Prolific D because I was training at Prolific Performance. And then I ended up going Coach Bay Fit. And so now, once COVID did hit, like you said, which is kind of crazy in a sense, because I know a lot of people lost a lot during that time. But I think in the fitness world, because we are, you know, kind of separate already, 6 feet away from different people, or 6 feet away from another client. It was kind of easier for us, I think, to get back into training when they were starting to open things back up and things of that nature. And, you know, once that happened, I think when you have nothing else to do, when the clubs are closed, when the, you know, some grocery stores are closed, what can you do besides, you know, work out to keep your brain, you know, sane? So I think a lot of the fitness industry, I feel like overall, not even just for my business, I think overall just kind of went up, because people are now trying to find different videos to do home workouts, trying to do outside workouts. And so us as trainers, we have to make sure we're delivering, you know, for our clients. So I was definitely very grateful to be able to kind of, you know, push through that whole season, even though we're still going through it. I know a lot of people that lost a lot of different things just due to the nature of how COVID was and the shutting down of so many different things.
Yeah, it's funny because I was just talking to Nick, and what's so funny is I'm close friends with his brother Paul. I grew up playing with Paul like my entire life. But yeah, like I think it's really cool that, you know, a lot of young Black entrepreneurs are really starting to get into fitness, and I think in the Black community, fitness is really lacking. And I know that like that's something that you know, we need to start covering more, is just the fitness culture in the Black community. You know, so what has it been like, you know, being an entrepreneur and having a son and, you know, doing the entire thing? What has that been like?
Oh man, it's it's a lot. It's definitely a lot. Because in the entrepreneurial world, nothing's guaranteed. Which is what I think some people may not understand or know, and which is kind of a season that I'm kind of going through right now. Just not knowing. You never know if a client decides not to, you know, come back to you that next month. That's just their decision. You have to figure out how to make that money up, or figure out what to do, you know, or make sure you have perimeters in line in case those type of things happen. But it's just it's the unknown, honestly. And then, you know, with having a child, you got to make sure you're making that time for him or her, and not working yourself to death. And that's one thing that I feel like I pride myself on, is I think our not even just our community, but the world we live in kind of pushes us to think that we have to work. But when we all go, and when we all, you know, pass away, we can't take that money with us. We can't take that job with us. We can't take anything with us. So it's like, why not, while we're here, spend time with your loved ones, love on each other, make time for what you really want to do, and not just work. Obviously, I know you have bills. I know we all have bills, and make sure that's taken care of, but don't feel like you have to work yourself to death, you know, in order just to live day to day. You know what I mean? I've always prided myself on making sure that I'm happy with the career that I'm choosing. Because I know how it can be, getting up at 7 a.m. and, you know, not really wanting to go in that day, and feeling like you want to call off because you're just not feeling it. But then you may lose your job because you're calling off, you know, that type of thing. So I just, you know, I try to choose things or figure out ways to make sure that I'm happy with what I'm doing, so that I can give that energy to my son, or, you know, to my family. And I'm not just like, oh, I need to go to sleep so I can go back to work the next day. So I just think trying to just choose something that makes you happy, that you can, you know, kind of do on a daily.
Yeah, and that's one thing. Like, I did a podcast, it was 2 episodes ago, and I was like, what is life really like as an entrepreneur? And, you know, my dad and my brother, they both have a basketball academy. And one thing that they talk a lot about is like, when you were doing entrepreneurship, people think it's very easy. It's just easy money and you're your own boss. No, like it is very hard. There's a lot. You actually are probably going to end up working more, and you're probably going to be more stressed out, and you're probably going to have to do more things on a daily basis. By doing that, yes, it can be rewarding. Yes, you can make more money. Yes, you could own your own company and make your own hours. But at the end of the day, for you to have success, you have to go above and beyond, especially the first 5-10 years that you start.
Absolutely.
A lot of people don't really know that. They feel like when you become an entrepreneur, you're automatically just going to just make all the money that you want to, never have to work for anybody, and never have to worry about anything. And that is absolutely not the case at all.
Absolutely. I wish it was that way. That would be amazing. I think if it was that way, everybody would be entrepreneurs, but it's really not. It's really, you just really don't see the background work at times. You know, people don't really, especially in today's day and age with social media as big as it is, not a lot of people want to show their quote unquote downfall moments. And so we get caught up in the whole, oh, well, they're doing this, they're doing that, they're doing this, but you don't know what it took for that person to get there, which is, I think, why a lot of people say don't compare your journey to somebody else's, because you never know where they are in their journey. You know what I mean? So you're absolutely correct about that. Definitely.
So last and final question, what's your fitness goals? You know, how do you set them? You know, how do you help other people set theirs?
So honestly, I don't necessarily have a goal. I have a image. I want to be lean. I want to feel like I'm still in my athletic body that I've been in. But I don't really set deep goals. Because I know
that's not good, because I know a lot of trainers feel like that's not a good thing to do.
To set those deep goals. Yeah, because if you think of fitness, you have to understand that it's a process, just like an entrepreneur. It's a process, up, down, up, down, up, down. And so I think even when people get so much into dieting and, you know, eating a certain amount a day, I think all of that kind of plays a role mentally. So for me, when I hear of a diet, I hear of, okay, me doing this for a certain amount of time, but if I mess up, I messed up my whole diet. And I don't like that way of thinking. So if I eat great for the whole week, but then come Saturday, Sunday, I decide to eat a slice of pizza, or I decide to eat, you know, something that's not a part of my diet. Now, mentally, I'm thinking, oh, shoot, I messed up. Well, let me just continue to eat bad since I've already messed up. I'll just start over Monday. And I don't think that's a great way to think about it. I think it's all about balance. I think it's all about, you know, if you have a slice of pizza on a weekend, okay, make sure this in your next meal, maybe it's something lighter, a salad, maybe something a little bit healthier. And it's not so much as, oh, well, I did this, so I might as well continue it and, you know, just start over on Monday. And it's like, no, just have that balance. Just, okay, I had a slice of pizza. Well, let's get back to it the next meal, or let's, you know, make sure I'm just kind of keeping that balance and not going overboard eating, you know, 5-6 slices of pizza, you know what I mean? Something like that. So I don't really have set goals. And that's exactly what I tell my clients as well when they talk about, you know, nutrition and dieting and things of that nature. I have a friend, her name is Tanisha. She has a company, hers is called Brew and Bodies, and she's just more into, again, healthier meals. She'll literally kind of, you know, see your body type, know which kind of food you want, you don't want, and just kind of tailor it to that. So that's who I refer all my clients to, because I love that she doesn't strictly say, hey, you have to eat this at this time, this time, this time. Because again, our lives are not like that. I may wake up at 5 a.m. one day and may wake up at 8 a.m. another day. And so because I didn't wake up at 5 a.m. on that 8 a.m. day, I didn't eat at the same time because I was sleeping, if that makes sense. So that's really
I tell a lot of people that. A lot of people don't get that. They feel like they have to eat at a certain time. I'm like, if your day starts at 9 and someone else's day starts at 4, you're not gonna have the same, you know, dietary times.
Exactly. So that's literally just what I explain, you know, to my clients, and I just want them to understand that it's a process. You know, you get some people come to you and say, oh, I have a trip coming up next month. You think I could lose such and such by such and such time? And it's kind of like, no, we can't. I've been doing this for years. And, you know, I'm still working on certain, you know, parts of my body that, you know, that I want to get to where it needs to be. But it's that consistency. Are you determined? Or how strict are you going to be with your diet? Are you willing to make those changes, you know, to get to wherever you want your body to be? But not a lot of people mentally are there, and they think it's all about the fitness and the physical. Like I tell people all the time, fitness is really like the cherry on top to your workout, to your goals, to your body goals. It's really what you eat and what you put inside of your body that really gets you to where you want to be.
For sure. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. This is DeeDee Williams here. Hopefully that she'll come on and talk some more hoops. You know, I always do that. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. I appreciate you for having me.
Thank you.